Hey everybody, it's Joe Solari and welcome back to the Business of Writing. Today, my special guest is Caro. How you doing, Caro?
I'm doing great, Joe. How are you?
Good, good. So we've bumped into each other a few times at different events and talked about what you do, which is helping authors with building their website platform. And I thought we would have you on the show and talk a little bit about the work that you do with authors and how you're helping them to connect with their community. But why don't we begin with you just telling a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you got into this whole thing.
Sounds great. So I'll start with my name because my name, when people see it, they don't know how to pronounce it. So it's Caro Bégin, which it's okay if you get it wrong. And if you call me Begin, that's fine. I'll turn around and I know it's me. It's a French-Canadian name. I started building websites a long time ago. I wanted to say, when I left the military, early 2000, I started dabbling in that. And then mid 2000, I got serious with that, incorporated my business, end of 2009, I think. And then I've been building websites since, but focusing mainly on small businesses in my area at the time. I used to live in Calgary. Now I'm in Mexico, much nicer during the winter time. But I've been building a lot of websites, and I've started writing a while back, but my first book was published in 2014 or 15. I've got two pen names, and I know what it's like to try to market your books today. It's difficult. You're competing against a lot of other writers, and you want to have your platform. And meeting people at conferences, hearing their struggles with their websites, I figured, you know what? I prefer hanging out with writers anyway. Why don't I just switch my business around and start building websites for authors instead of businesses that do other things that I don't particularly care about, but I care about writers and I want to help them succeed. So that's how I got around to doing that.
And so how long has that been that you've been building specifically author websites?
Well, all of 2019 has been pretty much all of author websites. I think I've done close to 100 websites last year, so a lot of them. I've seen all the gamut from people who know nothing, where I held them by the hand, helped them pick a hosting company, domain name, set up an email address, all the way to people who already knew how to set up a website but did not have time to make it happen. So I've seen it all.
Sure. So why don't we kind of start out talking through just like real basics for folks. Why do you need a website as an author? What's the purpose of that in your whole marketing strategy?
Well, basically your website is the one spot that you own on the internet. There's a domain name, which is your address. As long as you don't forget to renew that, it's going to be yours. And then the hosting you need to buy as well. It's a separate thing. It's where your files live, but you need both. And then you can have a presence online. You control that. It's not like Facebook that can disappear or kick you out. You control your website. You decide what's your priority. If you want to get more newsletter subscribers, you focus on that on your site. If you want to get something else, if you want to sell your books directly, you can do that on your site. You can't really do that on the other platforms when you don't control them. So
yeah. And so you're seeing with the authors that you've worked with, kind of what are the things you feel are the basics that they should have on their website if they're when they set up their website?
Well, the important things, I think after getting the site up, just having domain name hosting purchased, the next steps are to have a newsletter sign up. I think that should be the number one priority for most authors. Unless you've already got a huge list and you don't care about getting more readers, then maybe that's you. But most people, that should be the priority. And the biggest issue I've seen with new writers especially is that they've heard of the cookie, the reader magnet, but they don't know how to make it happen. They understand the concept of it. They just don't understand how to deliver that free story. So I help them do that, connect, use BookFunnel, connect their newsletter provider, hook it all up on the website, and then deliver that freebie. Other authors forget other legal things. The GDPR that happened, I want to say a couple of years ago now, it feels.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah. People need to have a cookie bar to tell readers, anybody coming to your site, that you are indeed using cookies, because you are, whether or not you know it, Your platform, WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, they're all using cookies. So you are using cookies. You need to disclose that. You need to have a privacy policy that explains what you do with the data that you collect. You need to track, not that you need, I highly recommend you track what's happening on your site with your Facebook pixel and Google Analytics. So you know who's coming, what they're doing, what's most popular, but you need to disclose that in your privacy policy. Otherwise, you're going against the law. And yeah, so these are the things I see that people forget to do. And obviously you need to list your books. You need to give information and links where they can buy your books.
Yeah, I think that we forget a lot of times. We're always so focused on trying to sell that we don't really think about how we buy. And what I mean by that is like whenever I go to buy something, I do a lot of research, right? If I'm thinking about doing work with somebody, I'll probably go to LinkedIn or Facebook to check them out. So somebody may, that's a step that they're going to take in a process where they're going to want to learn a little bit about the author to understand kind of who they're buying from and what they're buying, and if there's any kind of information that they can get to see if it's really the right product for them. So.
Yeah, you're totally right. And authors need to keep that in mind when they build their site. It needs to be approachable. You need to look approachable on your site. You need to put your bio. If you can, put a picture. I know I don't personally because I have 2 pen names and one of them is erotica, and I talk about my 2 pen names to each other, so I don't want them to see my face. But that's a separate issue. I would recommend 99% of the time to put a photo of you. And then you don't have to talk about details you're not comfortable sharing. Don't do that. But as part of your newsletter, you should have your personality come through each message that you send to your readers. Your website should also have that. If you decide to blog, which not everybody needs to blog, but if you decide to blog, do share some tidbits about you. You need to look like a real person. Readers buy books from their favorite authors, especially if they really love them as people, but you don't have to. This is totally optional if you want to open up or not. Depends on the genre that you write in as well. For romance readers, I know they love getting to hear tidbits about the author's life. If you write thrillers, maybe not so much. Horror, maybe not so much, but it depends. Be you. You can only be one person, so be you and make that come through authentically.
Well, you and I both know Ernie Dempsey, and I know one of the things he did or does when he promotes a new book in his series is he sends out recipes from whatever country that book is happening in. So yeah. That's the kind of thing where it's not even really about him. It's like just watching him make a mess in his kitchen.
Yeah, no, I subscribe to his newsletter, and it's great. Like I've seen him, and then you see his daughter come up in the shot. Like, oh, yeah. It's neat. It doesn't take much time for him to record that, but the readers who see it, they were like, oh, he's a real person, man. He's like me, whatever. So whatever you can do to connect with your readers.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few different sites. Can you kind of walk folks through the different options they have for websites and kind of your opinion on what's good for different applications, I guess?
Yeah,
there's one over another.
There's so many platforms out there, and I think the most popular ones would be Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress. And there's 2 types of WordPress sites, and that's getting into the weeds a little bit. I'll avoid that for now. There's also Shopify. There's also Magento. There's also Drupal. But Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress. Wix and Squarespace are more user-friendly. If you don't like to get into the nitty-gritty of things, you just pick a theme, roll with it, tweak things, but you can't really be, if you're nitpicky about you want this to be slightly more to the left, you can't control that. If you want to add a certain functionality, you cannot necessarily control that. You need to research it before you commit to it. Most of these platforms, you get to try it for free, I think. I'm a WordPress developer myself, so I know a lot more about WordPress. But people need to be aware that there are recurring costs with Squarespace and Wix, and these add up over time. If somebody decides to go with WordPress, which can be a bit more technical, depending on if you go with the self-hosted or the .com. They're two different versions, but you can do pretty much everything you want. There's plugins that you can add, so it may be for the more technically inclined author or somebody who's willing to learn a little bit. It's not that difficult. The platform has come a long way. They've added a block editor now where it's more drag and drop like the other platforms. But I really like, for me, the flexibility of WordPress. And you can get started, let's say, with SiteGround, $3.95 a month for the hosting, which is pretty affordable when you compare that to what Wix and Squarespace they charge. So there's no perfect solution for everybody. You just have to look at how much time you have to deal with this. Do you want to hire it out? You can easily hire out a WordPress site and then just maintain it if you don't want to deal with the technical hassle at the beginning.
So I know, like with the WordPress site, you've done some work to develop like templates to help authors. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that kind of simplifies things for an author if they are going to go the WordPress way?
Yeah, because I've been building websites for well over a decade for various clients, I know where they struggled with the whole WordPress interface thing. And I know the needs of an author. I know that you need to add your books, but you also need to connect them in series. And you also, maybe you want to showcase a book trailer that you've got, or an audiobook excerpt, or maybe there's a lot of things that we need to do that not everybody needs to do. So my theme comes built in with a cookie bar, so you don't have to worry about it. It's part of it. You install it, it's there. The books is all there. It's my custom code, so you don't have to install an additional plugin for that. It's all there. You just add to, it's go through the page, and then you answer the question, put the stuff where I tell you to put it, drag and drop all of your retailer icons. I populate, I want to say now it's about 15, 20 retailer icons that I populate for you. But you can add more. If down the road, 2 years from now, there's a new retailer, it's super easy for you to add a new retailer. And I support 5 formats for ebook, audiobook, large print, paperback, and missing the fifth one there, audio. Anyway, there's 5 formats that I support. Everything is easy to do. And as part of my custom installation, I hook you up with, I do the freebie delivery. I basically walk you through it. Either you're sharing your screen and I'm saying, give me that code, I'll put it here. Or if you're techie enough, then you can just follow my instructions, email me the code, and then I test everything, making sure that the freebie does get delivered, that your automation is working. You're seeing my name on your list. I'm getting the freebie. All is good in the world. So I take care of all of those things. I also set people up with a contact form that has the reCAPTCHA, but the V3 version, which is not the one that asks you to identify bicycles and overpasses. And half the time I fail the test.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my theme was built with authors in mind. So it's easy to populate. It's easy to add your Facebook pixel, Google Analytics. It's all built in. So.
Yeah, great. And, you know, I certainly think for authors getting started, you know, I know there's so much focus on advertising and trying to get your book sold that way is, you know, if you have a website and you have that ability to start serving up that, that free book and start to get some emails, you know, once you get, even if it's just 20 emails, you're then able to go into some of these list swapping groups and start talking to people about, hey, you know, I'm in this genre. I know I'm just getting started. Somebody want to do a swap with my, you know, my lead magnet. And I know from my experience in doing that, it only takes a month or so and you'll go from no emails to 1,000.
Yeah, seriously, there's so many services now. Like I use BookFunnel, the one Prolific Works, there's Story Origin. There's a bunch
Story
now.
Origin is another great one. Yep.
Yeah, and it's you're right. It's so much easier now. And then what's Ryan Z's service? I'm totally blanking out.
Book Sweeps, and then there's the other one is Art of the Arcane. I don't know if you know that one. That's a free service with, you can buy some premium spots. so there's a lot of ways that you can use that to start getting those emails going and building up that audience. What are some other things you've seen authors do to build their community on their website?
Oh, there's different things you can do. If you are already active on Facebook, let's say you've got not just your author page, but you've got a group on Facebook, then you can actually showcase that on your homepage, make it visible in the sidebar, like invite people to join. You could even set up a pop-up if you wanted to, if that's something that's important to you. You could do that. But I think if you want to talk about the community, sometimes of other authors in your genre, that's also an important community to be part of, I think. And your website can help with that. My own theme that I create comes with a promotion template where you can get together. David Gogren did one of these things just before NINC last year, and he shared the results with me. So I was able to share them at NINC. But he basically got together with a bunch of authors that he respected, other nonfiction authors, and he put together a page on his site. And everybody agreed to discount their books to 99 cents for a short term. And then all the traffic got sent to his site. He used affiliate links, so he got a little bit of an income from that. And then he rolled that into some ads on BookBub and whatever to keep the promotion going. But you work a relationship with your author friends in the same genre that you write in. They did it for a discounted book. But you can basically take the whole book funnel story origin thing, but do it on your site, where you control who's invited. You know each other, you've read each other's book, you respect each other, and you can do first free in series and send people to individual book funnel pages where each writer collects their own email list. Because you don't want to be sharing a list these days that's so dodgy, like don't even touch that. It's your list, respect it. Your readers expect you to respect their privacy, so make sure to do that. But anyway, there's different ways you can do that. If you're active on YouTube, if like, for example, Ernie, who's got videos, he could showcase that on his site if he wanted to get more subscribers come into his YouTube channel. It all depends. Every author is different in how they connect, how they're most comfortable. So pick what is natural to you and then focus that. Put that in the sidebar on the homepage, anywhere you can.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really believe that the network of people that you need to connect with is within, the audiences within the genre that you're in, as well as, like you said, in those other authors. If you think about the whole idea of 6 degrees of separation, the authors that you could become friends with, the people that are in their audience, those are really the customers you want to get right now, right? Don't worry about like trying to convert some guy that might never read a book. You know that they have customers that like to read in your genre. And if you're doing some decent research and you know them, that their books are similar in whether it's humor or, whatever kind of your subtext is in your books, you're going to get an easier conversion from that. And it's not an either or situation. Somebody can be both customers to both, right? They can be fans of both authors.
And that reminded me, something I just did with one of my pen names. I'm sure I'm not the only one with this problem, but every now and then I struggle, like, what am I going to write about this month in my newsletter? So because it was January and I was looking at my tablet trying to figure out what I'm going to read this year, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to poll my readers. I'm going to send them an email, ask them to hit reply, and tell me what their best crime fiction of 2019 was. To help me reorder my reading list. Maybe I'll bump something up. And then I said I would share the results with the rest of my reader group, which is what I call my subscribers. They're my reader group. So I got the results. Seriously, the time I sent the email, the replies started popping in. And that's good for you, for your deliverability. No matter who you use, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, MailerLite, doesn't matter. If people actually reply to the emails you send, that's a good signal. It means that your list is responsive. So that improved my ActiveCampaign account. They see that, yes, these people want to hear from me. They're actually replying. So that's helping me there. Plus, I get to connect with them. I replied personally thanking them for taking the time to tell me this. If I've read the book, I may share like, oh, yeah, I loved it. Did you enjoy this part? Or if I haven't read it, I'm just, yeah, that sounds good. I'll add it to my to-read list. Like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
takes a few minutes to reply to that email. And then next month, I will reply, like my email to my newsletter will just be the list of all the books I got recommended to me. And then I will do a giveaway. But it's going to be a weird giveaway. I thought at first that most people would recommend similar books, but no, they're all totally different. So I will just do a giveaway. The top prize will get pick 5 books out of these, and I will ship them to you. Like it's not my books; it's some other author's books.
Yeah.
The first prize winner will get 5 books. Second prize will get 3, and then the third prize will get 1, whatever. And then maybe I will give an ebook copy of one of my books to everybody who entered. So that way that helps me. And then if they share it with their friends who like crime fiction, because the only things they can win is crime fiction books. I'm not luring in people who want a free Kindle or a free Amazon gift card.
Yep.
So I'm growing my list. They will sign up. They'll get one of my books for free. So this is how a website can kind of fit in. Plus, I get my Facebook pixel on there. I can turn around and create a lookalike audience based on the people who came to that page. When you start going deep in the weeds, a website is very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, we were talking before we got on the call about having those pieces of tracking code on the different pages so that you can see what people's activity is. And it's like, well, this isn't just to be creepy and watch them. It's like we're trying to take that information to go find more potential customers on something like Facebook, right? Because that email address, one of the things you can do with an email list is you can upload it to Facebook, and then they'll look and see where those people are, and you can say, find me more people like this. Well, then they're going to look at, the other 17 million pieces of data they have and say, oh, here's how these people are similar. But you made me think about that idea you have with the books, which is a great idea, right? I mean, that's one of my things for 2020 is kind of this, coffee table marketing, I'm calling it, where it's like you and I are, how do you interact with somebody that you meet for coffee? And it's like, you talk about like the movies you like, the books you've read, right? And as an author, the best possible thing we can ever have is somebody asks me about the book that I just finished, and I had such a great experience with it that I think of that book and I tell them, and they get right on their phone and order the book.
Yeah. Right? A friend's recommendation is so powerful. Yeah.
Right. But to do that, we have to build that network. And, a big part of that for me, I remember hearing a sales guy talk. I was doing a presentation, and one of the things he does is when he's talking to a prospect in his email sequence, he asks them what their top 3 movies are. Like, what are your top favorite movies? And he does 2 things with it. One is it becomes a way to you can tell a lot from people, like what they pick, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is that then when he starts to sell to them, he's a big movie buff. So like he'll pick quotes from their favorite movie or gifts from that movie when he's interacting with them to kind of make points. So like,
oh, that's awesome.
It's about don't just use that data. Like if you can collect it, use it to like build that relationship in ways that that you would want somebody to do with you. It's like, oh wow, he knows enough to remember my favorite movie is this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and email is the best way for me that I've found with my readers. Like the number of times there's some readers that I must email them. I think we communicate at least twice a month, just personal email about weird stuff that's happening. They're telling me about their health. I tell them about the weather in Mexico. Like there's not much happening with my health but you build them one at a time. Your true fans, you find them one at a time. You just need to like cherish those relationships.
Well, on that, we're getting a little off the subject of websites, but it's a similar thing because this is all really about audience. I remember I had an email sequence for a fiction pen name where if I hadn't had any reply back about a review, I would just trigger an email that would say, hey, I know, stuff happens in your life and, there's maybe something unforeseen, but I was just wondering if you ever got around to that review. And got a lot of people that they would write back to me, and they would tell me whatever their tale of woe was, right? Like they were sick, or their stuff got stolen. I mean, there was terrible stuff, right? And it was like, oh, that's too bad. I'm sorry to hear about, whatever it was, your pet dying or whatever. And just by responding and saying, hey, I'm sorry to hear that, they would then come back with another email and maybe tell me a little bit more, but then say, hey, and I got that review done.
Yeah.
Right? Or I moved your book up to the top of the pile, right? Just because you made that extra effort of writing back to them, and it doesn't take much, but I think that's the thing in today's day and age with social media. People wonder why they don't share stuff, and it's like, well, because they have no reason to. They have no relationship with you, so why would they?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And to bring it back around to the website, here's one thing I do with my email. Both my pen names, one more than the other, my autoresponder, I talk about myself. I talk about how I like to travel because it's related to my books. Each book is set in a different country. Okay. So as part of my autoresponder, I talk about traveling because I do that a lot. I live out of a suitcase. So I talk about that. But on my site, I have a map. For that one pen name, there's a map of where my characters are. People can interact with that map, and then they see what what book takes place in that world. On my other pen name, it's just my real travel thing. Like I highlighted countries I've been to, and then I got a photo, and I talk about what I thought of that country. So it's related to what I talk about in my newsletter, but I send them back, I bring them back to my site because I want them to get comfortable with my site. So if one day I decide to start selling directly, they will be comfortable with my website. They've seen it before. They're comfortable. They know they like me. They trust me. And that's when later you can make the sale. But I'm building a relationship one at a time and being authentic. Yeah.
Well, and there's some examples out there of websites where authors have taken that to a whole nother level where it's a place to understand the lore behind the books and really blurs the line between the fantasy world of the books and the reality that we're in. And let's be realistic. People are reading a lot of these books because they want to escape.
Yeah.
So to kind of help with that, and it's like, why does there need to be a theme park for Harry Potter's Wizarding World? Right?
People just want more of it. They can't have enough. Yeah.
Right. And they want to be immersed in it, and they want to have their own personal experience with it. And it's like, so don't, just because you're a new independent author, don't think that other readers aren't looking to have those similar kind of experiences, whether that's, in your email or on your website.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything lately you've seen kind of that's new trending with websites or?
I mean, websites are always evolving, but I think what some authors are struggling with, especially those who've been around the block, maybe those who are like half trad, half indie. Some people forget that most people look at a website on their phone, and there are still so many websites out there that are not mobile friendly. If you look at your site on your phone and you have to pinch and zoom to look at it, seriously, hire somebody. You're really out of date. People do not enjoy having to do that on their phone. They'll just walk away. They're not even going to bother to look at your site. But it's that's the next thing I'm going to say. It's about WordPress. WordPress powers more than a third of all websites online. And some authors are not cautious about keeping things up to date. So guess what hackers are busy doing? It's all automated. Even if you think I'm a no-name author, nobody's going to want to hack me. It's automated. So that's what's happening more and more with the Bitcoin spam email. And you just have to be cautious nowadays more than ever to make sure everything is kept up to date and secure. Don't use admin as your username because they know by default that's what it used to be. So don't use that. Change your username. Just stay on top of things. I'm not asking you to learn a new platform. Just keep what you've got up to date. So at least you're hoping to keep the hackers away. But yeah.
Yeah. For sure. And I know from my experience with WordPress, if the site is fairly simple, doing that isn't all that hard, right?
Oh,
It's
no.
basically going in and saying, go and update all these things. But you have to remember to go in there and push those buttons and do that.
Yeah. And depending on your hosting company, some hosting companies do offer to do the automatic updates for you. SiteGround is one of those companies. And then they email you after the fact. So when you get the email, it's important that you go and click to make sure your site is still live. Because if one of the plugins broke your site, you want to be able to know and revert back to what you had. But 99.9% of the time, you'll update it and things will be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and, with the one site that I'm involved with is home brewing supplies, we're doing close to $1 million in revenue online selling, and it's a WordPress and WooCommerce site. And, it's a different world, right? When you're running that kind of transactions through it, but there's always plugins to be updated. And then you just, the more complex you get it, the harder and it can be, and the more you might need some professional help to help you, because sometimes these things don't talk well to each other.
Yeah, as much as WooCommerce tries to make it easy for the layperson to set that up on their site, if you have a site with WooCommerce, I highly recommend you set up a staging site, which is basically a copy of your site, upgrade things on there, because WooCommerce keeps updating like more often than ever, and all of the plugins that you need to tack onto it to deal with the USPS shipping rates or FedEx rates or whatever. There's so many parts. They don't all get updated to match. So you definitely need a staging site, if not a developer to do that for you, making sure it's all good and then keeps you running. Yeah.
Sure. And, with that, the more these sites start talking to each other, right? So we talked about a Facebook pixel, and if you have Google Analytics, and if you're connecting it to your email service provider so that when somebody signs up, it throws the email in there. You got to make sure all that stuff is connected properly and talking to each other.
Correct. And then you can take advantage of the abandoned shopping cart thing if you want to do that. It's very powerful if you take the time to set it up. But that's opening a can of worms, though. It's not for the new author. I would not recommend that for somebody who's just getting started.
Right. So, before I was showing you some stuff online, in that that one particular email service I showed you that's for e-commerce, they will actually do an abandoned browse email.
Oh, wow.
So if somebody has been a customer, and like we have their email address and they've been cookied, it'll see what they've looked at on your website. And then you can set features like, what did they look at the longest? Send them an email about that, right? So, and it does help. I mean, it actually does help with sales, because people will be like, well, I was looking on the phone when I was, on the train home, and now I got this email and I'm actually on my computer, I'll go buy, right? So it's a two-edged sword, right? The more you use this technology, the more powerful it is, but there's also more things that can.
You don't want to creep your readers either. Like, how does he know I was on there looking at this? Especially for me, like I write erotica. So what if they were staring at the cover? I don't want to send that email. I don't want to send that email.
But that's the stuff that's going on now, right?
Yeah.
So before we wrap up here, where can people find you, and how can you help an author that's maybe interested in working with you?
Yeah, my website is gocreate.me, not .com, .me. And then I created a theme called Parallax for Writers. V2.0 is the version I have now. I still have a handful of slots where I set it up for you. Like, there's a one-on-one phone call. You tell me where you're at. I ask you questions. I style it. I brand it. Like, I take care of making it look good based on what you do. This is a very high-touch process. I've only got a few, I want to say maybe 8 slots left until I increase my prices. So if you want in on that, I think right now, I don't know when this is going to go live, But it's $3.99, but it's going to go up to $599 in March 2020. But I know not every author can afford that, so I'm currently creating courses that are going to be much cheaper, but it's you follow it on your own pace. It's video tutorials where you can set up your own website, either tweak the one you've got or start from scratch, whatever you want to do on WordPress. And then that's going to be coming up in March. But if people want to sign up to be notified when it's live, they can go to gocreate.me/courses. And then there's a sign up box where they can sign up.
Right. And right now, you're part of this publisher package. So anybody that wins that is going to get a website designed by you.
Yes, the whole experience where you tell me where you're at, and then I style it and take care of it for you. Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. There's been a lot of interest in this because they've got you, they've got Jen McDonald for editing, they've got Jay Caleb doing a book cover. So yeah, this could be a great
prize. It's a great prize.
Yeah, this could really make somebody's career. All you need to do is write a good book. That's all that we leave you with is the super hard part. Well, it's been great having you on. Again, it's
chatting with you, Joe, as always.
Yeah, and it's gocreate.me. Okay.
Yes.
And we'll have notes we'll put some links in the show notes. Thanks a lot, Caro.
Wonderful. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.